Hey guys, some exciting news for the channel. About a week ago, I picked up some new digs. It's going to be a long-term project to do some upgrading here, but I think this is going to be a much better situation going forward for the channel and have a much nicer house to live in. Along with a larger house comes a much nicer and bigger backyard. So today's project, we're going to see if we can get the riding lawnmower dialed in a little bit. What I have here, came with the house, is a Yardman 42-inch cut hydrostatic lawnmower. It is a rather inexpensive model, and it is a long ways from being new. I have fired it up and run. It fired right up. I didn't need to do a will it run video on this. But it does have a couple of minor issues. One thing that isn't anything I can really do a whole lot about is that it doesn't have a foot pedal on this side for drive. What we've got for drive is a forward and back handle. I don't really like that. You know, trying to cut grass in around trees and that kind of thing, having to use your hand to control your hydrostatic drive is not the best way of doing things. It is a little bit worn and faded. It's got a Kohler engine in it. Seems to work. What I did with this to get it up and running was check the oil, put a little bit of gas in it, and turned the key. Fired right up. So that wouldn't have been very exciting for a video. However, we do have a little bit of a problem here. You can see that this belt is a little bit on the loose side. Now when the mower deck is up, this belt is supposed to be a little bit loose. It doesn't have a clutch, an electric clutch, like a lot of models do on the bottom of the engine. Basically when the deck is lifted up, the belt slips on the motor, and when the deck gets dropped down, this belt tightens up. Let me drop the mower deck down and I'll show you the problem we're having. The deck is basically down in cut position, and this belt definitely snugs up nice. However, it is slipping, and if I get into any kind of deep grass, the belt slips on these hubs, and then the blades don't turn and we don't get a decent cut. In today's project, we're going to get this belt off of here, probably drop the deck down, pull it right out of there, and take a look underneath, see what kind of shape it's in, see if there's any repairs need to be made, and get everything put back up in place. I don't have one of those nice air-activated lift tables, so we're going to have to work off of a set of car ramps. First thing we got to do, and I don't know how well that's showing up due to light, this is the drive pulley on the bottom of the engine. We need to get the belt off of the pulley. So now we're just sitting on top of the deck. I'm going to go over to the other side. We'll drop the deck down and then see what we got to do to get the belt out of there. There's a bunch of these little pins or whatever you want to call them to get the mechanism disconnected from the mower deck, and then we can work that off of there. Bring the handle all the way down so that we've got the least amount of tension on any springs under there. Here we've got brake, kind of a brake pad. You can see there's a disc brake here on the top of the drive hub, and when you lift the deck, it rubs against this brake pad, and that stops the belt from turning as quickly as possible. Another problem I see, and I don't know how well it shows up, but the main drive belt for the hydrostat has a bunch of cracks in it. So we're going to have to try and get it out of there too. That's going to be a bit more, shall we say, of a problem. Drive belt comes off. We've got a pin here, and likewise on the other side. I'll drop the front of our mower deck down, and that's a good sign. Then this belt should come off. And I'm guessing, I don't see it, but I'm guessing up in there's a belt tensioner of some sort for that belt drive that goes back to the hydrostatic. Let me grab a pair of pliers, we'll get these pins popped out, we'll get this first belt off, and then we'll see what we've got to do to get that drive belt out of there. sorts of gunk that needs to come out of there. Let's get our brackets loose on this side. We'll get the belt out around them. Now we'll repeat on the other side. Here's our first belt out of there, and you know, it's worn, but it doesn't look like it's in that bad a shape. It's not all cracked. Unfortunately, this other drive one isn't going to be quite as easy to get out of there. That's probably why it hasn't been changed, and that's going to make our lives just a little bit more difficult. Now I can see we're going to have a little bit of a problem in that there's not enough room to get the belt down between this pulley and this part of the frame. So I'm guessing that in order to change that belt, we're going to have to slack the motor off and slide it back a little bit. That's going to be a problem. Also over here, I don't know how well it shows up for you guys, there's a bolt that we're going to have to pull out. This pulley, there's not enough room for the belt to come out between the frame and the side of this pulley here. I think we're going to I think there's a panel up on the top here that we can pop off without too much difficulty, and at least it'll get us to the top side so we can kind of look at some of that stuff. Here's our panel, and I guess, well, we've got it off, we'll straighten it. That's probably a good idea. This knob appears to unscrew. Set that up on the seat so it can go tumbling away. And we'll see if these screws will come out of here. And we lost a little nubby off of the hydrostatic bypass. But definitely we can see our way around these pulleys here a little bit. Found the cap for the hydrostatic bypass. That's this lever here. That relieves the hydraulic pressure in the hydrostatic drive. I think we need to get that tension pulley spring off of there. I don't know if I can get enough leverage on it with a pair of pliers to pop it off. No, not one-handed. The belt is off the tension pulley there now. Oh, good, we got that spring popped. Have to make sure we get that reconnected when we're done. Now that we've got the belt kind of loose, this is the output shaft of the motor here. You can see there's a plate in the way. We're not going to be able to get the belt around that. I think what we're going to have to do here is undo the 4 bolts that hold the motor down in place, or engine down in place, and that'll allow us to get that up high enough we can get that belt off. Once we get it off of there, we should be able to get it off at the back, and one more pulley that we got to pull out. Not the easiest job in the world, but I think we'll be able to make it work. Got an impact gun. Let's see if we can make this happen. When I was taking the bolts out of the motor, up underneath here, I found that the front bolt on the far side was in behind the cross piece that's causing us all the trouble. I started looking around, and lo and behold, if we take this bolt and this one out, and the same on the other side, that cross piece that's causing us all the trouble just drops down out of there. That should make it easy to get that belt out. Of course, now it's probably going to need some prying. Kind of sort of like that. That's a good opportunity to knock a bunch of garbage off of there. Now, lift the battery. This is going to take 2 hands. Lift the battery out of there, and now the battery tray. Ooh, not much left of that battery tray. I think that's going to have to be on the to-do list for the CNC plasma cutter. And there's our belt pulled off of the hydrostatic end. Down here, this is a cooling fan over top of the hydrostatic drive. Blows down over cooling fins on top of the drive transmission. There's our belt off the bottom of the engine. Now the only thing we got left is that one pulley that's being a pain. And inside here we've got this one idler pulley that is going to need to be pulled out. Well, that's showing up for you guys, but that one pulley needs to come out of there, and then we'll have the drive belt extracted. And it's time for a parts run. The good news is I was able to find a replacement belt for the deck fairly easily. It wasn't too terribly expensive. The bad news is that I hit every place in town that sells belts, and the only belt I was able to find was one that is an inch shorter. I'm hoping that that inch isn't going to cause problems. So we'll give this a try and see if we can get it to go up in place. Now there is the belt tensioner, and hopefully that we'll be able to get enough slack in this belt to make it work. It's possible that the original one was just stretched a little bit too far, and so 74 inch might be the right one, but measuring the belt it was like 75 and a half. So I don't know, we'll give this a try and see if it works. I managed to get lucky. Went across to the US over to Tractor Supply Company, and lo and behold, they had exactly the belt I needed. So now the tricky part's going to be getting that short one back off of there and getting this new one is the right size installed. I'll poke away at this and I'll bring you guys back when we've got this one stuck back in where it belongs. I don't know how well it's showing up for you guys in the camera. We've got the top belt back in place. We've got the bottom belt back in place. Got the deck all reconnected. From a drivetrain point of view, I think we're back together. We've still got a few things we got to hook up. We got the parking brake that we got to hook up. Got to get the seat back on and reinstall the battery. Let me take a crack at those, and I'll bring you guys back when we're going to do a little test run. Well, guys, it moves under its own steam. Seems to cut the grass. Hard to tell because I've already cut the grass this week, but definitely you can see a little loop that's shorter than the rest of it. And seems to move decently. The blades don't stop when the deck is lifted completely. If I pull it right back into the brakes, they do slow down and stop, but definitely this belt is going to have to break in a little bit on the deck. And quite honestly, that's all I was really trying to accomplish with this one, was get that deck working better. But when we found the drive belt was in as bad a shape as it was, we had no choice. Thanks a lot for stopping by, and give me one of those thumb up things, and subscribe if you like the content, and we'll catch you guys in the next mess.